Assalamu alaikum and a good day to everyone. This video is about a recent study that I did, which gave me a pool of knowledge on how Islamic and conventional economists have expressed their theories on public finance since decades. I have had the opportunity to explore contributions of Al-Ghazali, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Khaldun, and Abu Yusuf, followed by conventional scholars like Keynes, Adam Smith, and Schumpeter. Before we begin to understand the scholars' contribution, let's test our knowledge on public finance. By definition, public finance covers all aspects of government activities such as government spending, taxation, and deficits. The need for a public finance arises to understand when and how the government should intervene in the current economy and bring about substantial changes in the market. This is the public finance map in glance. Let's start with what we can learn from Al-Ghazali's thoughts. Who is Al-Ghazali? Al-Ghazali was actually a Persian philosopher who was one of the most prominent and influential Muslim philosopher, theologist, jurist, mystic of Sunni Muslim. Al-Ghazali's economic thought is focused on 5 Sharia mandated foundations of individual and social life. They are religion, family, life, property, and intellect. His main focus is on the economic aspects of maslaha, which means social utility. Other concepts include taxation, government activities such as building roads, constructing schools, hospitals, appointing tax agents, and maintaining sustainability of natural markets. Overall, this is Al-Ghazali's economic thought. Next scholar is Ibn Taymiyyah, who was a Muslim scholar, muhaddith, theologian, judge, jury consultant, philosopher, and whom Rashid Rida considered as the renewer of the 7th century. Ibn Taymiyyah's contribution to public finance answered all questions regarding the failure of conventional economics being practiced in Muslim countries by addressing social injustice, poverty, class differences, unequal income distribution, and debt crisis on households and governments. Ibn Taymiyyah's theories are the most relevant theories to today's economy. His theories include explaining roles of government, collection of state revenues from zakah, fai, ghanima, kharaj, and ushr, and lastly, implementation of Al-Hizbah. What is Al-Hizbah? Al-Hizbah actually is an institution that takes care of economic activity and brings attention to the needs and complaints of the society. So it's basically more than just a municipal service, but it's also less than a formal judiciary system. Third scholar is Ibn Khaldun, who was an Arab scholar of Islam, social scientist, philosopher, and historian who has been described as the founder of the modern disciplines of historiography, sociology, economics, and demography. Apart from his outstanding work of Muqaddimah, Ibn Khaldun is highly praised for his work on taxation theory, which is still practical and relevant in today's economy. His infamous theory about development stages of a dynasty, which includes 5 steps, explains how the economy works typically. According to Chopra, Ibn Khaldun can be considered as a forerunner of Keynes. Last Islamic scholar is Abu Yusuf, who was a student of jurist Abu Hanifa, who helped spread the influence of the Hanafi school of Islamic law through his writings and the government positions he held. In his book Al-Kharaj, Abu Yusuf explains different kinds of tax such as kharaj, ghanima, jizya, ushr, and finally zakah. This framework explains his economic theory at a glance with taxation, government spending, and maslaha. First comes Adam Smith, who is known to us as the father of economics, who not only gave governments GDP but also explained how government's job falls in defense, justice, and infrastructural services. According to his famous theory of the invisible hand, it refers to the invisible market force that brings the free market to equilibrium with levels of supply and demand by actions of self-interested individuals. This leads to his theory of laissez-faire economy, where the less the government is involved in the economy, the better off business will be. Next, we have Schumpeter, whose revolutionary theory of creative destruction changed the face of public finance. through a cyclic flow of public activities and constant innovations in business cycle, creative destruction ultimately achieves economic development in a spontaneous and discontinuous manner. Here is the process of creative destruction. Finally, we have Keynes, who has changed the meaning of public finance for all economists. The most unique concept of Keynes is that he explains how government roles are more than just protecting the state and building public goods. Firstly, the government can regulate monopoly by interfering in the pricing of the commodity and encouraging new firms to enter the market. Secondly, the government can even regulate prices in the market by imposing price ceilings and price floors. And finally, externalities can be controlled by the government through tax policies and subsidies. Government's intervention in the market economy is needed for protecting the people from the evils of a laissez-faire economy. Both Islamic and conventional economic theories are so relevant and invaluable that one cannot pick one and completely disregard the other. Thus, a sustainable and moral economy can only be achieved when both theories are utilized and implemented. For instance, a taxation system can go hand in hand with zakah to increase funds of the treasury. Government loans can be granted except without riba. Fiscal policy can be imposed accordingly only by making sure that it satisfies the welfare of people. Similarly, when monetary policy is imposed, the central bank should consist of the attributes of a proper Islamic bank. A glimpse of a sustainable framework would be like this. Thank you for watching our video, and I hope that we all learned a lot of things about Islamic and conventional economic system from this video. Thank you.